Bitcoin is about to explode higher, but it's not for the reasons that most people think. Everybody's looking at the Bitcoin public treasury companies, but what they're not looking at is how much Bitcoin is being bought by the ETFs and the fact that we have billions of dollars worth of shorts that will be liquidated at $125,000 per coin. Today, Opti and myself, we're going to be looking at the 3 reasons for why the real Bitcoin bull run hasn't even started yet and what we need to be paying attention to. Opti, what did you think about Bitcoin hitting $122,000 this morning?
Well, yesterday I was trolling that we got hit by the inverse Kramer, and I was pleasantly surprised this morning when I woke up to my friend's text saying we hit 122. So, maybe we can avert the inverse Kramer here and it starts ripping, and it really does feel like we are on the verge of that rip. Like the price action right now, it's starting to make me feel really bullish here. It's starting to look very healthy. I don't know. Yesterday's candle did not look good. I forget what it's called. It was like a bear hammer or something like that. And so to wake up to 122 this morning, I'm like, okay, like I am reading the markets correctly, and the bears are not in control.
I don't think they're anywhere close to being in control, my friend, because we are in August right now. It's the year after the halving, and everybody knows that Bitcoin, while it's a 16-year-old asset, it still follows some trends. There is a little bit of seasonality when it comes to Bitcoin, and Q4, it is always the most bullish quarter when it comes to Bitcoin. It is so bullish that October, it actually has the name of being Uptober because it is nearly always green. So right now, we are in August. August, typically, this is kind of like a 50-50 month. You see a lot of red months, a lot of green months. September is also a little bit wishy-washy. But when you get into October, November, and December in a bull market year, you can see we've had some insane price rises. We can see the average price rise in October plus 23%. The average price rise in November plus 46%. That's an average, Opti. And if that were to repeat again, Bitcoin would be way over $250,000 by December 2025. And that is literally months away. Do you read into the Bitcoin seasonality? Do you give it any credence, Opti?
No, yeah, I truly believe in the seasonality of Bitcoin. As we've seen for, I don't know, if you've been in Bitcoin for a long time, you do kind of notice that the Bitcoin price, it always kind of hits these certain times. Like, the summer is usually kind of weak, and then it'll start pumping around Christmas. We always joke about Bitcoin. The real Christmas is in Bitcoin because it starts pumping around October, November, December. And it looks like we're on the same trajectory. It looks like this is where we're going right now. And when you look at the seasonality, again, this is probably the most data points we have to really kind of try to parse the information in Bitcoin, because if you look at just cycles, we have 3 data points. You can't really learn too much from just the cycle tops and cycle bottoms. But when you look at the monthly data, it does paint a way better picture. And I mean, just look at this. Just look at just the overall green versus red ratio here. I know we always say that Bitcoin really only pumps like 10, 12 days out of the year. And we mean like really pumps. But you look at here, and I don't know. I mean, I am colorblind here, but it looks like there's more green on this chart than anything else. So it looks like even if the percentages are kind of small, let me kind of look in here. Zoom in a little. Let's look at this. Yeah, even if some of these percentages are like very minimal greens, it still looks mainly positive on the chart around Bitcoin. So this is most likely why it is the best performing asset ever, because even if it only goes up 0.62% or something a month, it's still going up. Whereas if you're holding dollars, it's going down 2% a year. So I'm a huge fan of the seasonality of Bitcoin, especially when you kind of overlay the cycle years. And since we all know, 1 red, 3 green, we are in the 3rd green of a cycle kind of mimetic form here. And so with that being said, the Q3 and Q4 odds right now of it going absolutely nuclear, they're working in our favor. And that's not even considering all the stuff that we've been covering in regards to the news stuff around Bitcoin. Like, again, we've been saying it, we're a broken record. This is the most bullish news cycle. And with all that kind of aligning at the perfect time and end of Q3, Q4 kind of blow off top, it's hard not to be bullish, Luke.
I'm incredibly bullish. And again, this is kind of what we want to talk about today, Opti. I think people they're just looking at the wrong data. They're looking at the tariff data. They're looking at, oh, what's the Fed going to do? Is the Fed going to cut rates by 0.25 or 0.50? Oh, what's inflation? I think everybody is looking at the wrong data. They're looking at power laws. They're looking at power opinions, diminishing returns. And when you look at the bigger picture, things look incredibly bullish. Now, you mentioned one of my favorite charts there, Opti. That is looking at Bitcoin's best 12 days every year. So this chart's actually looking at Bitcoin's best 10 days. This is in the purple column. And you can see we've got 11 years of history here. And we can see very clearly Bitcoin's best 10 days. In every year, it always outperforms the remaining 355 days. And yes, that is true. For example, 2013, in Bitcoin's best 10 days, we saw 700% returns. And in the rest of the 355 days, we saw cumulative returns of 600%. So this just kind of shows, and it goes to show what we're trying to illustrate today. Please do not trade your Bitcoin. Bitcoin will absolutely rip faces off and it will explode much quicker than most people think. And if you are not in the market for Bitcoin's best 10 days, you can see very clearly by the chart, you could sometimes get absolutely wrecked. Like, look at 2014. Bitcoin's best 10 days plus 201%. But the rest of the days, minus 86%. This is why I think traders lose a lot of money in Bitcoin, because typically they're not in Bitcoin. They miss the face melting 20% God candle, and then they try to buy in high and they end up they're eating red candles. Okay, this is, again, why we always say here, all your models are destroyed. You need to be in the market. Please do not try to time the market because you're going to get absolutely wrecked.
Yeah, no, and Luke, actually, like going a little further, kind of what I'm taking away. Well, first off is looking at this chart. If I was like a TradFi guy, you know, like a traditional stonk kind of person, equities, treasuries, I would also be looking at us like, what are these kids doing? Like, this is the dumbest trade ever. Like, why would you go into a market that loses, you know, whatever X percentage, 355 days out of the year, but it gets incredible gains 10 days out of the year? I mean, yeah, if you're just like, I'm buying one time and that's the only time I'm buying, then yeah, your odds are a lot worse. If that's your strategy, your odds are not that good. But what this chart is kind of telling me, as someone that capitulates his fiat as soon as he gets it, or as other people like to call a dollar cost average type strategy, like if you are continuously buying throughout the year, throughout those 355 days, you're getting Bitcoin at a discount. And then your cost basis gets cut in half or whatever, cut by a certain percentage, and then you get to get all of these gains. And so this is why the strategy of literally just buy Bitcoin whenever you can with whatever money you have, this is the winning strategy, because you never know when these 10 days are happening. You just need to acquire a position, continuously acquire a position, and you will see the upside. And if you're in the market long enough, you know, over a 4-year period, I think now maybe we move it back to like a 6-year period, you know, 8-year period. It doesn't sound as sexy, but you're going to be in the green. Everyone that's hung out with us in the chat, everyone that's been in the market past, I don't know, 2022 or something like that, and is just a continuous Bitcoin buyer, sees this play out very, very easily. It's like, maybe your first 4 years, you're kind of on the fence. You're like, man, I put in, I don't know, X amount of dollars and I only got like X plus $100 out of this. But when you zoom out and you look backwards over a 4, 6, you know, I've done it 8 years. It's you're like, wow, I forget how much money I put in, but now I'm also a lot higher than that and I'm good to go.
Yeah, and this is, again, something that we talk about a lot, Opti. If you've been in Bitcoin a while, Bitcoin is pretty much boring for like 3.5 years. And then it's only really exciting for 6 months, every 4 years. And again, so many people, they just get bored of Bitcoin, they get shaken out of Bitcoin, and they don't stick around for the really parabolic phases of the 4-year cycle, or they're just not positioned well enough. Like there's so many people sitting on bags of altcoins and trash coins and NFTs from last cycle because they think, they hope, they're praying that one day these things are going to pump. But I just feel like we're kind of starting to get to that point in the 4-year cycle where it feels as if things are going to really start ripping. And even if you like take a little bit of a look at the most recent like kind of price action, we've just been kind of meddling around. We've been flirting with that 120K all-time high. And again, who knows if history will repeat? Who knows if the models will continue being true? But if we do continue to see the same 4-year cycle play out, then the next 3 to 4 to 5 months to end 2025, historically, it's going to be incredibly bullish. Again, we can talk a little bit more about why this time could be different, bro, in the culture section of today's live stream. But hey, just if I'm wrong and if this cycle is the exact same as previous cycles, we are now getting to the phase where things start to get a lot more interesting. And one of the reasons why I think things could be way more interesting this cycle, Opti, is looking at what the ETFs are doing. See, everybody's looking at public treasury companies, but we're completely forgetting about what the ETFs are doing. And even them alone, they have bought 50,000 Bitcoin this year, while there's only been 18,000 Bitcoin mined. That's just insane in and of itself, without even looking at the buying spree that Michael Saylor, David Bailey, who yesterday bought a ton of Bitcoin, all of these public companies, I think they're taking the limelight, and now everybody's just watching what they're doing. Everybody's saying, oh, are these treasury companies a Ponzi scheme? What's going on? What happens if Saylor blows up? You know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But what we're seeing is the ETFs continue buying Bitcoin nearly every day. And this is just creating a persistent bid under the price of Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I know there's a lot of conversation about paper Bitcoin summer. I know that's like all the rage right now. It's like, someone's manipulating the price. They're not buying real Bitcoin. From all the data I've seen, what Luke is saying is spot on. Like, it's not just corporate treasuries that are scooping up a lot of Bitcoin or projecting that they're going to scoop up a lot of Bitcoin. Like, I forget what the number is, but we've heard in the last couple of weeks, like $3 billion raised, and that doesn't even account for sailors that just does that like every week. And once all that money does get put into the market and they start acquiring Bitcoin, that those companies themselves could move this market. And then you account for the ETFs, how much they're scooping up. There is a lot of demand here, and I've been saying it for the last couple of weeks. Like, institutions are eating our lunch here because they got the capital and they got the conviction. And the more individual retail investor, if you can call us that, a lot of individuals here are not able to scoop up as much Bitcoin as these big institutions. And it does seem like some people are taking their foot off the gas here. So, you know, I know there's a lot of conversation around centralization concerns, or maybe rather honeypots here of, is it safe for them to hold this much coin? The only way to really combat that, guys, is to buy more Bitcoin, is to make sure that you're buying your own Bitcoin. This is how you win.
Yeah, I mean, and we can see the potential honeypots. They're increasing in the amount of Bitcoin they hold. This chart, I love to look at it nearly every day. And we can see right now between the ETFs, public companies, private companies, and governments, those entities alone are sitting on like 3.6 million Bitcoin. That's kind of insane. Is there a number there, Opti, that gets you worried? Like of a potential honeypot? Is it 3 million Bitcoin? Is it 5 million Bitcoin? Are there any numbers that scare you?
Not really, to be honest. I don't. I truly believe in the idea of, it doesn't matter how much coin someone holds, they really won't have more influence over the network than, you know, the combination of all of us holding coins. It's really the amount of economic nodes out there. And so, yes, maybe they have more impact by one node, you know, like one vote, one computer here. But no, I'm not really that concerned, to be honest, especially considering that this industry, and for better or worse, really, is becoming much more like regulated. It's becoming much more mature. While it's not above banks and Wall Street like individuals to, for lack of better terms, like commit fraud or commit some kind of fuckery. We all know FTX. I think now we have the spotlight on us so hard that these people aren't going to kind of, slay their golden goose here. So it is concerning, I would say, because they are acquiring a lot of Bitcoin. And I think only at this price does it make me concerned. Once the price goes up higher, they can't acquire as much Bitcoin. So I really not that concerned about it, to be honest. And maybe that's a naive take here, Luke. Maybe I'm just like stupidly bullish on everything. And I'm just like, it doesn't matter, man. Like, it really doesn't matter. Just as long as more people are coming into the market, that's what really matters.
Yeah, and that's also my take as well. A lot of people say, oh, but Luke, Bitcoin's failed because now BlackRock controls Bitcoin. Luke, Bitcoin's failed because now you're begging the governments to buy Bitcoin. And I just think all of that's wrong. Again, if the idea of diminishing returns were to be true, then I would never want the government or the big money to ever get involved. Let's think about that for a minute. If only retail participants they were the same retail participants, and if the same people who were buying Bitcoin in 2013 and 2017, if they were the only people dominating the market today in 2025, then I would agree with this idea of diminishing returns or the power law, all of these models that say we're getting diminishing returns, because each time retail is making a smaller and a smaller impact on Bitcoin as it's getting bigger and bigger. But the fact that now the dominant market buyers in the space, governments, pension funds, banks, billionaires, now that these guys are involved, this for me confirms that Bitcoin is actually on the path it's supposed to be. And I believe Bitcoin is going to be the biggest store of value in the world. Again, we've got $900 trillion looking for a safe home today. We've got hundreds of trillions in the equity market. We got $350 trillion in a massively overpriced real estate market. We've got $100 trillion of bonds. I need to be careful what I call them, but people are actually trusting government paper. That's insane. And I just think Bitcoin will eventually be the biggest store of value bucket in the world. This isn't rocket science. Bitcoin is just the best vehicle at storing value. It has no rulers, and it has rules that everybody has to follow. Eventually, everybody's going to figure out that that is much better to store value in than real estate, which has property tax, government tax, stamp duty like we have in Australia, and eventually unrealized capital gains. That is coming to a country near you if you're living in the West. But again, people are eventually going to be like, why am I holding this trashy asset that I have to pay 20% tax on every year? Why don't I just buy Bitcoin? So my base case is eventually we're going to see Bitcoin being the biggest store of value, whether that's 400 trillion, 500 trillion. I'm not saying we're going there tomorrow. But I am saying we will be the biggest. And I'm not even saying Bitcoin's going to eat all of the money in the world. Again, straw man arguments. Real estate is always going to have some value. It's just going to shrink to its utility value. We're not going to see this massive monetary premium. So again, my base case is Bitcoin's going to be $500 trillion asset, but you're never going to get there unless BlackRock, the governments, the billionaires, and the massive corporations get involved in Bitcoin. I don't think this is a sign that Bitcoin's failed just because they're sitting on 3.5 million coins. I think this is a sign that Bitcoin has won and they're bending the knee to Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is not going to just be digital gold or just another asset. Again, this is why I strongly believe that if Bitcoin just does what gold's done, it's failed. Again, gold today, it's $22 trillion in a world where there's $900 trillion of money looking to store value. Gold has completely been wrecked. What does that mean? Gold's less than like 2.5% of global money or global wealth. And people think of that like a store of value. It's completely wrong. If you look back 100 years ago, gold, or the thing that was supposed to be storing value, it represented 30, 40, 50% of the wealth in an economy. It just makes sense. If you're looking for a store of value, put it all in the winning thing. The fact that gold's $20 trillion today, it shows that it's failed and it's not money. That's, again, it's 2% of global wealth. So I think people saying, oh, Bitcoin's just going to be digital gold, 20 trillion, $30 trillion, $1 million a coin, it's not going to do anything. It's going to get more and more boring each 4-year cycle. I think it's BS. And I just think for me, Opti, the fact that we've got governments and all these big boys coming in, that is confirmation that Bitcoin is going to be much bigger than gold.
Yeah, no, 100%. And SF Hotto, I think you heard Luke wrong. He said Bitcoin has not failed. That's this argument. He said no, gold has failed. And I've said this before as well. Like gold as money has failed. Like it's very clear. If it didn't fail, we wouldn't have fiat currencies today. And then further, we wouldn't have had to have created Bitcoin, or rather, Satoshi wouldn't have had to create Bitcoin. But yeah, I like that. I like that framing. It's like a flipping of the framing on people's heads. Like, oh, but look at gold. Bitcoin's never going to get to gold. And you're like, yeah, we're going to blow past gold. Gold's trash. Like, yeah, gold's nice. I like holding it. It feels great, but it's not the global money. It literally went from, as you said, you know, 1/2 of every transaction in the world to what? 2% of all transactions. Or like, if that's not a failure, I don't know what is. And to your point, I've been saying this as well on the show, Luke, all the time, is like, people seem to forget just how much capital is in TradFi system. Like most of the capital is locked up in these, you know, market pools that cannot be tapped into Bitcoin until this year. And we're all looking at the price and saying, hey, you know, diminishing returns are here, bro. And you're like, I don't think so. I really don't think that that's the case. I think we are now just beginning to tap into these markets that Bitcoin was never able to get into. And really, a lot of it is being led by Michael Saylor. And then, of course, the ETFs. And now we're seeing, as we mentioned this week, you know, we're seeing Ivy League pension funds get into Bitcoin. We're seeing sovereign wealth funds get into Bitcoin, where potentially, I mean, depending on what you read in between the lines here, but it sounds like the U.S. has been accumulating that Bitcoin. So, you know, Bo Hines leaves his position at the Digital Assets Working Group, going into the private sector. Usually when this happens, that's like a clear indicator that he knows what is going to happen later. And I think that announcement is going to come very soon that, yeah, actually, we've been stacking and we are number one here in nation states adopting and accumulating Bitcoin. So it's hard to look at what's going on right now and being like, yeah, Bitcoin diminishing returns are real, dude. I'm like, I don't know. Maybe Luke and I are just getting ourselves a little too bull-tarded on the show, but it just doesn't make sense to me. It literally makes no sense to me. And that's just from a gut, I forget what my IQ was yesterday, 42 IQ take here. It just makes no sense to me. So few people actually hold this thing. And then within the people that do hold this, I think even fewer understand what is actually going on.
I think, as you say all the time, Opti, the math just does not math. And I don't know why, but we're seeing individuals sell a ton of Bitcoin. That's what this chart here is looking at. It's looking at the year-to-date change in Bitcoin holdings. And we could see public companies, ETFs, and ETPs in these big gray and light green bars. They're buying a ton of Bitcoin. 200,000 have flowed into public companies, 200,000 into funds and ETPs. And who's selling? Individuals in the yellow. It's the little guy. I don't know why we're selling, but we can see 158,000 Bitcoin sold by individuals and long-term holders. Again, this is why we keep making these videos literally every day, twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. Do not sell your Bitcoin to the institutions. The institutions are buying, and they're buying for a reason. They know where this thing is going. And I just think it's a matter of time before this thing really starts moving. And I don't think, $150,000 Bitcoin is what we should be talking about, Opti. I think it's going much, much higher than most people think.
Well, Luke, someone in the chat just joined us recently. And I apparently he's been watching our videos for a while. And he's like, I've heard you and Luke say we're going to $1 million by 2025. And if that doesn't happen, you guys are scammers. So we better hope it goes to $1 million this year. Our reputation's on the line.
Yeah, I mean, geez, I don't remember ever telling someone, hey, it's going to $1 million in 2025. It's 100% going to happen. What I have said is there are no certainties in life, and everything is a probabilistic outcome. Anyone telling you they know exactly where the price of Bitcoin is going, they're lying. For me, what I have said, and I will continue to say for a very long time, is I think the probabilities that we hit $1 million in 2025, it's much higher than most people actually think. Most people think the idea of and the probability of us hitting $1 million, it's less than 1%. me personally, I think it's more like 10%. Again, it's not my base case. I'm not saying it's 99% confident it's going to happen, but I think a 10% probability of that outcome is much higher than most people think. And this is just based on pure numbers. Like if you look at the Bitcoin bull market multiplier, if you look at what Bitcoin did in 2013 and 2017, and you take an average, Bitcoin normally sees 66x returns in a bull run from the bottom. Okay, so if you map that onto the bottom, Bitcoin bottomed at 15,000. If Bitcoin just repeats what it did in 2013 and 2017, you're looking at Bitcoin way over $1 million a coin. That's just the math. And for me, I don't like to look at the 2021 bull run because I think it was kind of a muted Bitcoin bull run. It was a lot lower than most people expected. And again, that's because of all the reasons we talk about here on the show all the time. China banning Bitcoin mining, Tesla teaming up with China and stopping accepting Bitcoin for payment from Tesla at a very interesting time. World Economic Forum, BlackRock, Proof of Work, Energy FUD. We saw all of it coalesce in 2021. But even if you use the data from the 2021 bull run, and if you take an average from the 2021, 2017, and 2013 Bitcoin bull runs, from memory, the average multiplier was something like 20 to 30x. So even that would indicate Bitcoin being well over $700,000 a coin. That is the base case. If Bitcoin simply repeats what it does. And I don't know where people get this idea of Bitcoin seeing diminishing returns and it has to top at 150K because we're seeing this cycle of diminishing returns. I don't think that's true. I think the big boys attacked the Bitcoin price in 2021 for a very calculated reason. They wanted to buy up their Bitcoin. They wanted to load their bags. My base case right now is that the big boys, the banks, the Larry Finks, the public companies, the governments who have been talking about strategic Bitcoin reserves for over a year now, they all have their bags packed. And it's my base case that we're going to see this thing absolutely rip because now they have an incentive to let Bitcoin do what it's going to do. And I just think if Bitcoin does what it has done over the past 3 bull runs, we're looking at $1 million Bitcoin. That's just if Bitcoin repeats history. Again, who knows if there's some sort of attack on Bitcoin at $200,000 a coin. Maybe a government says, hey, let's attack this thing because I want to buy more. I'm not saying that's not going to happen. It could happen. Again, there's a 10% chance we top at 200K and it looks as if, God forbid it happens, but it looks as if I have to listen to the stupid power law narrative for another 4 years. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying there's a 10% chance Bitcoin does top at 180 or 200 and I have to eat crow for another 4 years. God forbid that happens, and it might happen. But again, I think everything's a probability opt-in. I don't ever remember saying it's going to $1 million in 2025. 100% bet your house.
Yeah, I don't think we said that either. But you never know. I do say some dumb things on the show sometimes. So I'll you know, yes, as SF Hodl said earlier, someone clip it. If I did say that, clip it, and I'll eat crow right now. But actually, Luke, let's bring up the, you said it, maybe they will attack the price of Bitcoin at 200K. Bring up that long short liquidation chart because we can already see where kind of the market is already making their moves here. And so let me see, refresh this real quick because it has been changing very, very fast. So refresh this page and we can look at what, you know, how much capital is where and where we should be looking at. Go down. You got to go down. I think it's this one. Yeah, that one. Yeah. So zoom over this and let's read this a little bit and we can start to see kind of where the capital is. So there you go. You know, about 2 billion of short liquidation leverage up until about 125 and some change. So until Bitcoin breaks 125, we'll probably be kind of fighting in this range, but it does look like the price is starting to get pretty healthy. As you said earlier, we saw the highest daily close ever. And now it looks like it's starting to make some moves. So maybe we will go and test 123 today. But if it breaks 123 and it goes towards 125, I think the price range that we should be looking at is if it breaks 125, then the race is on. Then the game is really happening right here. And actually, Luke and I were looking at this earlier before we went live. And you can see a lot of spoofing happening at this price range. So earlier this morning, it was like 6 billion at 125. Now it's at like 2 billion. So if that's not an indicator of people getting scared of getting liquidated on their shorts right now at 125K, this might be a sentiment change. And I don't know, maybe, there's still a lot left in the day. It could break 125K. And once it breaks that, I don't know. This is where the fun happens, Luke.
This is when things really start moving. And that's a great point. If we're seeing so many people take shorts off, does that mean they're less convinced that Bitcoin's price is going to go down? Maybe that is when the thing really rips. And I mean, like we looked at a while ago, Opti, there was this new report done looking at the Bitcoin multiplier effect. And they found that in the short term, on a monthly basis, the multiplier is like 8x. But in times of very low liquidity, like what I think we might be approaching here, if a lot of these shorts take their shorts off the market, the multiplier effect can be 25x. This is again why this is why Bitcoin can explode. And this is why Bitcoin's best 10 days every year are massive. Like, again, just going back to 2013, let's really put this into perspective. Bitcoin's best 10 days were up 700%. That means on average, Bitcoin is nearly doubling in 10 days that year. That means it's up by 70% for 10 days if you average that out. Again, obviously 2013, it was a long time ago. Bitcoin was $1,000 a coin. But even if you look at 2017, again, there's a reason why I'm showing you the bull run years. Bitcoin's best 10 days were 353%. If you average that out, that means for 10 days in 2017, Bitcoin is moving up by 35% in one day.
Damn.
That would represent waking up tomorrow, Opti, and Bitcoin's at 160.
Let's go. Let's go. With that point in mind, I was texting my buddy the other day, and he's been notoriously bearish recently. And we basically saw the price start ripping. And my initial thought was like, I just can't wait till we wake up in the morning and the price is higher. And we do that every day. And if you guys weren't here in 2017 when it really started ripping like that euphoria phrase that you go through, or euphoria phase that you go through, is like nothing you've ever experienced before. Every morning you're kind of waking up, like you can barely sleep because you're wondering, okay, what's the price going to do tomorrow morning? And you wake up and it's, at the time it was, $1,000 bigger than it was before, but $1,000 used to be the all-time high at Bitcoin around that time. So if this is the case, what Luke's saying is kind of the vibe I'm seeing. You're going to wake up and then literally day by day, the price is going to go up 20, 40, 50, 60% or 60K a day. Like, I think that's not too far along on the horizon, Luke. But again, maybe we're drinking our own Kool-Aid here, Luke. So, we should maybe bring it in a little bit. All we know is going up.
Well, that's never going to happen. That's never going to happen, as if we're going to bring it in on a Wednesday, Opti. That's insane. But I mean, for the people who weren't around in 2017, I was just a curious bystander in 2017. I was waiting for a dip to buy, and this is what I saw nearly every day. For example, on the 5th of December 2017, Bitcoin was at 11K. 2 days later on a Thursday, it was at 16. It was nearly doubling every couple of days. And again, I think we're going to see a 2017 bull run again. I think we're going to see something. Let's go. It's Wednesday, baby. And I just don't think people are prepared. Like October 2017, Bitcoin's at $4,000 a coin. It even got down as low as 2,900 in September. And then less than 3 months later, in December, it's at 19,000. That's like a 700% gain in 10 weeks. Again, if Bitcoin repeated 2017, a 700% gain in 10 weeks would look like Bitcoin at $1 million by
Okay.
October.
Okay.
That's
Now you can actually clip Luke and say that he thinks it's going to $1 million in 2025. Oh man, that's hilarious.
bet your house on it. It's
No,
100%
no,
going to
do not
happen.
bet your house on it. This is not financial advice. Okay.
Not financial advice, but in all seriousness, I do think the probability of Bitcoin repeating what it did in 2017, it's not 0.1% like the majority believe it is. I just think it's a 20 to 30% chance that we repeat what we did in 2017. That's it. I think it's far more likely than most people think. And this is what people need to prepare themselves for. And the reason why we get stupidly bullish on this show all the time, Opti, is because so many people in the chat weren't here in 2017. They think a normal bull run is 2021. I don't think it is, but who knows? Could be
Yeah,
wrong.
no, I agree. I look, I feel like a boomer now on the show because we keep saying, remember the days of 2017? That was the good old days, and we haven't had it in so long that I would love to see one play out in 2025, especially when you see just the amount of interest around Bitcoin. And so if you kind of compound what we're seeing now with an incredible price ripping as well, this could get really crazy very quick. I was gonna say the H word here, but I'm not gonna say it because that's a pure top signal confirmed when you have the Bitcoin media guys saying hyper Bitcoinization. So I'm not saying that is what's happening. I'm not even saying that I'm saying those words, but it would get absolutely crazy. Luke, I was
Well,
going to shout out a super chat here, but I lost it because of the
I'll
I have
find
it.
it.
I have
But
it.
how
So
about this?
first of all, thank you to Vault Dweller, $2 super chat, and maybe we'll answer this. Actually, we'll maybe yeah. He asked, when do you think U.S. makes Bitcoin legal tender? I don't think anytime soon.
Okay, I want to come back to the H word, hyper Bitcoinization in
Yeah,
the
we'll talk
culture, but
about
let's
that.
save that for then. When do I think the US makes Bitcoin legal tender? For me, I subscribe to the thesis that maybe they already did, but they
Wow,
did it through El Salvador. I think
hot
maybe El
take.
Salvador was their testing grounds. Yeah, I mean, if you look at as well some of the other countries who are super bullish on Bitcoin, I don't think it's any coincidence that it's a ton of countries neighboring China. So we got Laos talking about publicly mining Bitcoin. We got the Kingdom of Bhutan. Both of these countries are very close to the Chinese border, but they're insignificant. So again, if you think about things from an optics perspective and 4D chess, China doesn't want to make Bitcoin legal tender, but they want to test what the market does and how the market reacts if a smaller country like Laos or the Kingdom of Bhutan makes Bitcoin legal tender. I don't think there's a 0% probability that El Salvador was the equivalent testing ground for America. Think about who neighbors America: Canada and Mexico. Both countries are way too big to make Bitcoin legal tender. It would make a massive splash, and I think it would trigger a massive pump in the price of Bitcoin. And again, hypothetical thinking caps on right now. If you are America, you don't want the price to run away from you before you've got your bags packed. So I think maybe El Salvador, it's in Central America. It's one of the closest small countries to America. Again, there's obviously what happened with the MS-13 gangs all getting deported from America to El Salvador in the 1990s. Maybe a deal was made there. Hey, to apologize for inundating your country with all of these gang members, you do this for us, we will benefit your country, you'll get a boost in tourism, you'll get a boost in publicity, your Bitcoin treasury will appreciate. I don't know, just a theory, but okay, when does the US actually make Bitcoin legal tender? I think it's sooner than most people think, especially because we're now seeing this talk of strategic Bitcoin reserves. For me, it happens before 2030. So that's simply because by then, the number of Bitcoin on exchanges, if the past 5 years of the trend of Bitcoin leaving the exchanges continues, we've got no Bitcoin on exchanges by 2028, 2029. And I think by then, America's probably got its bags packed. So I think 2029 is when we'll see American Bitcoin legal tender.
Well, Luke, I thought you were, drinking your own Kool-Aid before, but do you have a tinfoil hat over there as well? Because shut up,
I do
shut
somewhere.
up. Okay, all right, let's keep the show moving. But before I do, shouts out to San Francisco Huddle for the $50 super chat. And he goes, we're going higher. Number go up tech. Best performing asset in human history. This is the way. And then we got one more. Ron P. FKKYA. Opti. I don't know what that means. I'm a boomer. How
Maybe they're trying to tell me that I've got pink eye.
Yeah,
I don't know what
dude,
they're trying to say.
Luke lost a fight with an ice cube, and he almost lost his eye. You know, I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say what I told you this morning. That maybe you joined some club at this morning, and this is why you have a black eye. I didn't say it. Okay, I didn't say that. All right.
I didn't
say that. All right. Anyways, guys, before I move on, I do want to give you guys a huge shout out here. Everyone watching us, we truly appreciate it. Of course, smash the like button, comment on this video. What do you think of the show in general? Maybe our bullishness, but just tell us what you think about the show. Maybe even tell us what we should do better. I'll take some constructive criticism here. And of course, hit the subscribe button, guys. We are dropping the best content, period. Well, maybe it's us and Luke on his channel. We're dropping the best content, period, on YouTube. And then, of course, moving forward, guys, I do want to give a huge shout out to our boys over at Bitcoin Well. Make sure you sign up to bitcoinwell.com using the code simplybtc or bitcoinwell.com/simplybtc. Scan the QR code. Wait, right here. Scan it right here. And when you scan it and sign up, you have 3 chances to win 1 million sats. That's what, $1,200 right now? Yeah, $1,200 right now. All you have to do is sign up, and then you toss a coin in the wishing well, and you have a chance to win generational wealth, $1,200 right now. So make sure you do that. And then, of course, if you're listening to this and you have a lot of dollars or your local fiat currency sitting on the sideline, make sure you reach out to the Infinite Well team, and they will allow you to smash by 50K or more at a time. And they won't just let you run off. They will give you a white glove service so you can back up that coin and you can have this for generations. So here we go. We got a great show for you guys. Let's just dive in. We went really long today. So let's keep it moving.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, StampSeed. Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Are your seed phrases really secure? StampSeed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you'll need for you to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates. Instead of just writing them down on paper, paper is fragile. Titanium plates are strong. Your words are actually stamped into the titanium plate with this hammer and these letter stamping tools. Once the words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamp seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They are also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. And now you can customize your titanium seed plates. You can upload your design or logo, and they will laser engrave it on the back of your seed plate, the opposite side of where the words are. Stamp your seed on StampSeed and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the stampseed.com store.
Yeah, the chat. You guys are killing me right now. All right, anyways, I'm over here on Clark Moody's dashboard, bitcoin.clarkmoody.com. If you're new to Bitcoin, highly recommend this website. You can investigate the blockchain yourself. But currently, I've been just hitting, maybe you can say I'm getting lazy, but I'm just hitting the favorites here, the fan favorites. We are currently at a price of $121,800. I repeat, $121,800 per Bitcoin, which is a, look at that, negative 1% decline from all-time high. Guys, we have 1%. Dude, I'm going to just chart boy live here real quick. Jeez, we're pumping. Anyways, the block height is 909,875, and the market cap is 2.42 trillion. Actually, dude, I might have to make since Luke's here, I think I'm going to have to make an audible, live audible here, because I was mentioning this yesterday. And it looks like we are on the verge of taking over Google. So as you can see, guys, maybe we can do some quick math here, but we will overtake Google at a $2.46 trillion market cap. We are currently at what? 2.42, what's this say? Oh, $2.421 trillion market cap. So, you know, Luke, actually, I'm doing some quick math here. So it's probably wrong. You guys can fact check me in the chat. But it seems like that 125K number that we were just chatting about, that might also kind of correlate to when we break and pass Google as the number 5th market asset by market cap. I don't know. Maybe I got to do some quick maths here. But it does seem, I think that might correlate. So I was going to play a video for you guys, but it looks like we're climbing here, guys. It looks like things are ripping. We're 1% down from all-time high. It looks like my poll of us passing all-time high by end of the day might actually happen. So here, I'll switch it over here. And then Luke, rip it about this asset, market cap number. And then let me see if I can do some quick math here while you rip it.
Yeah, I mean, this is insane. The fact that literally 16 years ago, Bitcoin was launched and it was zero. It was sent out to the cypherpunk mailing list. It has no marketing behind it. It has, we're not on. We don't own the CNBC to talk about how brilliant government bonds are. We don't have trillions of dollars like the real estate market does to lobby the government and create this propaganda around the necessity to buy a home. What we have is literally just better money. And right now we're at what, nearly $2.5 trillion of market cap, and we're about to continue climbing up that list. I think this is massive. I thought it was really interesting that we actually surpassed Amazon yesterday by market cap. And what did the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, do on the exact same day? He started accepting Bitcoin for payments for his other company, Blue Origin. Again, you guys know I don't like to believe in many coincidences, but I just can't think that that is a coincidence, that Bitcoin surpasses Amazon's market cap and Jeff Bezos maybe tips his hat and says, yeah, you know what? You've got us, Bitcoin. You're bigger than us. I don't know. Maybe this is the last time that Bitcoin will be valued less than Amazon, the multi-trillion-dollar company. I think there's some credence in that kind of thought experiment. But I think any way you look at it, Bitcoin will eventually be that number one top spot. The only question that we're all asking ourselves is when. When is it going to happen? And what is the path to go from here to there? My chips, they're kind of placed on the more bullish, more volatile outcome, so to say. I don't know where you stand on that one, Opti, but I think it's going to happen a lot quicker and a lot more, in a lot more of a volatile fashion than most people think.
Yeah, well, I mean, I love where you started. 16 years ago, it wasn't even a thing, and here we are, about to pass Google or Alphabet, and that's just insane. And I know we always talk about how fast the development and the movement is in the space, but it's happening way faster than anything. I literally think the math, or rather the facts of it is that Bitcoin as a technology is being adopted faster than any other world-changing technology we've ever seen. And it's just crazy because there is a prize attached to it as well, which is the price of Bitcoin. And so, look, guys, I think I did the math right. I'm again, my IQ is dropping live as we speak, but 125K times 21 million, which is how you get the market cap, right? That would be a $2.62 trillion market cap. So at 125K, we are very securely in that number 5 position. So I think that's going to be the number we're all looking at right now. Once we break 125, I think things are going to get crazy. But someone, okay, yeah. So yeah, I think, all right. So I think my math's right, because he was saying, Aurelius is saying 135, but I think it's 125, guys. I'm pretty sure of that at this point. Okay, so 125K. So it might be what, 123. It might be at all-time high that we just knock off Google here.
And then we're going to take another company. We're going to take another company after that. It's only a matter of time.
That's going to take Apple's at 3.445 trillion. And then Microsoft's at 3.9. And then Nvidia at number 2 spot's 4.4. So, let's just take our wins as they come, and we'll just take Alphabet. We'll take Google this week. All right. We'll take Google this week, and then we'll start making that climb higher. So, man, what a crazy week. It's already getting crazy out here, and it looks like here actually. I'm not going to show you this because you guys are going to troll me, but the 1 minute chart is looking all right. All right, 1 minute chart. We're not 1 minute chart trading here, but it looks okay. All right. Anyway, guys, I do want to keep it moving because I'm trying to get to the end so I can get Luke even more bullish, and we're going to talk about cycles here. But I do have some update on M2 supply, the U.S. M2 supply, or so M2 global liquidity, M2 from the U.S. And guys, we just hit a new record number in the U.S. in our debt. So looks like there's more money coming, guys. And you know what that means. The money printer is starting to get warmed up, and it's got to find a home eventually, and it will all lead to Bitcoin. So let's cover that.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, Ledin, the leader in Bitcoin-backed loans. Unlock the liquidity in your Bitcoin without having to sell your Bitcoin. They've issued $9 billion in loans to over 10,000 customers since 2018. I absolutely love these guys. Not only do I have an account with them, but I also have a loan. And what I love about them is that there are no monthly payments, and you could pay back the loan at any time. As soon as you send your Bitcoin as collateral, you'll have cash in your account within 24 hours. Over 1,000 five-star customer reviews, and they've never lost a single dollar or sat of customer money. Go to learn.ledin.io/simply today, and you'll get 0.25% off your first loan. I want to give a shout out to our partner, sat123.com. Sovereignty isn't just about your money. It's about your communications too. When the grid goes down, most people go dark. Cell towers fail in hurricanes, cyber attacks, and blackouts. But satellite phones, they don't rely on local infrastructure. Iridium has 77 satellites in orbit, giving you a direct line anywhere in the US, even offshore. If you hold your own Bitcoin keys, you should hold your own comms too. Sat123.com also has everything you need to start building your Bitcoin citadel. Starlink, battery backups, Faraday bags to protect your hardware wallets, and much, much more. It's a one-stop shop for anyone serious about resilience and off-grid independence. Stay connected, stay independent, stay sovereign. Go to sat123.com/simply today and use promo code SIMPLY to get 15% off anything on the store.
All right, guys, I'm getting trolled in the chat. Everyone's calling me bearish, and that we get Google today. But San Francisco HODL, SF HODL did the math at 123.5. We take Google, provided Google doesn't move higher. So we're going to shoot 125K is our mark here at Simply Bitcoin. 125K is the mark. So we don't have to play these games. But anyways, moving forward, I don't know if you guys saw this, and maybe this is just because we're Americans. Well, Luke's not. He's got a funny accent. But here, we're American-centric. And for us here in the U.S., we just got a new crazy metric, guys. So, of course, I'm using U.S. debt clock here. Check this out. U.S. national debt has now officially crossed $37 trillion and climbing. And as I've been showing, this is one of my favorite sites. They did just update this, guys. And I finally found unfunded liabilities. They changed it, but it's still on here. So 37 trillion national debt and U.S. total debt, which for some reason it doesn't work when I try to give you guys the info up here, but $105 trillion, guys. $105 trillion. And of course, the interest on the debt is at $1 trillion. This is completely unfeasible. We were talking about the interest payments yesterday. Ray Dalio has been kind of talking about this. Larry Fink's been talking about if the U.S. cannot get its debt under control, they have a problem losing world reserve currency status to Bitcoin. Well, the debt just keeps climbing. And actually, I wish I could remember when it hit 36 trillion. I think that was 100 days ago. So at this rate, the U.S. is increasing its debt by something like $1 trillion every 2-3 months. It's absolutely nuts. Okay. Now this is just the U.S. Maybe you don't care about the U.S., but moving forward, we have over here fred.stlouisfed.org. And here is just the U.S. M2 money supply. And this has also hit a new all-time high, roughly $22 trillion. You can see here, in COVID, it was $15.4 trillion. And now we're at $22 trillion M2 supply. Now, again, this is American centric. I live in America. This is kind of the big number we look at. But here is the global monetary supply, the global M2 supply. And maybe Luke wants to kind of hit the fact that it's got the Bitcoin chart here. But you can see here the global M2 monetary supply, the global liquidity has hit also an all-time high of $109 trillion, which is absolutely nuts. They got to find a home for this. And of course, this is only going to continue. And to the Keynesians out there that think this is feasible and they could, I forget what they say, they can take from the future for now, print future prosperity to now so that we deserve it, or whatever their meme was. I don't believe in that. But you do have here the Bitcoin price over here. I'm on TradingView, and look, it's even on TradingView now. You can see the Bitcoin price. This is delayed usually, and it seems to be bottoming out at exactly the bottom of the global M2 money supply. So if this is the case, does this have the Bitcoin price here?
I think we're lagging.
Yeah, it's lagging, but this is let me see. Maybe I could go to source code. No.
I've seen the same M2 money supply chart, and it's even more parabolic right now, which means
let me see.
Bitcoin is going to play catch up.
Let's see if I can find this. I think I had the old one, so I'm going to look for this. But Luke, how unfeasible is the fact that this debt is going higher? M2 money supply is continuing to go higher globally. It's not looking good, guys. If you are still in fiat, it is not looking good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just math. They're going to have to print money, and everybody's like, oh, but how do you know that? I mean, you just look at the debt. Opti pulled out the debt clock. America has a debt to GDP ratio above 120%. And if you look back through history, there's been 52 governments that have hit a 130% debt to GDP ratio since the year 1800. And if you look at 51 out of those 52 governments who hit that magic 130% number, they ended up defaulting on the debt within 15 years of them originally hitting it. So what does that default look like? How does a government default on its debt? Does a government put its hands up and say, all right, take my house, take all my assets, we're defaulting on our debt? No. A government default looks like hyperinflation or significant inflation, where they will simply get their magic money printer out. They will debase the money. They'll print a ton of money, devalue the money, and pay back their enormous debt with the devalued dollars. And if you look back through the past 225 years of economic history, this is what every government does. And the fact that we have America, the majority of the Western countries like Portugal, Italy, Greece, and Spain, all of the pigs countries at or around that 130% debt to GDP ratio, I just think we're going to see a ton of money printed. And again, this is going to be really bullish for Bitcoin, because we know that Bitcoin is the most sensitive asset to the money supply being increased. Lynn Alden and Sam Callahan did that study that you mentioned, Opti, where they looked at which assets are most sensitive to increases in the money supply. And it's Bitcoin. Bitcoin by far. So if we know money's going to have to be printed, why not own Bitcoin? You'd be crazy to not own Bitcoin, or even have a small allocation to Bitcoin. Like Michael commonly says, diversification is Michael says diversification is a bad idea. I will say that diversification is for idiots. I think that if you are diversifying your money, you just don't know what is the best bet. Michael has a really great video where he gives this analogy. He's like, why would you tell LeBron James to diversify his time in a lot of different sports? Why don't we put LeBron in the swimming pool for 25% of his time? Or why don't we stick LeBron at the end of a ping pong table and play whack-a-mole, playing table tennis with the Chinese guys? Why would you do that when LeBron's 6'6" at 13 years old and he's clearly destined to be a basketball superstar? You say, LeBron, spend 100% of your time playing basketball, because that is clearly the best option for you and your future. It's the same with Bitcoin. Why would you just keep 20% of your money in Bitcoin when the rest of your money, the other 80%, is clearly losing money? It's clearly more at risk. It clearly doesn't have the same property rights that Bitcoin has. I just think you don't understand Bitcoin. If you've only got 20% of your money in Bitcoin, You don't understand money. You don't understand the history of money. You don't understand technology. That's not a shade at you. That's an encouragement to look into Bitcoin more. And again, this is a personal story. I didn't understand Bitcoin in 2018 when I had 20% of my net worth in Bitcoin. I thought I was too smart for my own good. I thought, oh, I'm so smart and clever. I've got 20% of my money in cash, 20% in gold and silver, 20% in a business, 20% in Bitcoin. I'm so diversified. God, I'm smart. I was an idiot. I was a moron. I didn't understand money or Bitcoin or technology. And again, I just think if we know the money printer is going to turn on, there's only one right allocation. And that right allocation is one greater than 80%. That's just my thoughts. Not financial advice, as we always say here on the channel. This is only financial entertainment, but that's just how I think about things.
Financial entertainment. I love it. Yeah, man, it's pretty simple. And actually, like, it is interesting. I know inflation was one of the hot button topics here in the US in this recent election, but I think a lot of people still just kind of ignore this. Maybe it's too complex. Maybe they can't think in second order here and they don't really understand what's going on after that. And I do like this win some hacks comment here. And we're seeing this play out in real time around the world. So when some hacks goes, when the capital controls come in, and they will, preventing you from getting your capital in a lifeboat, you will regret it. This is why you need to get off zero. So if getting debased, if your savings getting destroyed isn't the one thing that's going to get you to start to acquire Bitcoin, maybe a more fear-mongering take that we're seeing play out in real time. Luke's done huge videos on this idea of the EU trying to freeze your savings account. We're seeing a kind of a pivot here in the U.S. with the recent executive order by Trump around unfair debanking practices. So it seems like maybe you'll be safe here for a little bit, but I wouldn't really hold my breath on that happening, or rather you fully being protected. The only way to actually protect yourself is holding something that they can't stop, they cannot control, something that cannot be debased. Like, I'd much rather feel safe and sleep at night if I'm holding Bitcoin than hoping that my bank doesn't shut me down for, saying something dumb on the internet. Cause like, that's literally my job here. So maybe I'm in a different boat than everyone else, but you got to get off zero, guys. This is simple.
Well, it's worse than that in the UK and Australia. You are getting your door kicked in by the police for saying something smart on the internet. You can't even say something dumb or inappropriate. You just share a meme that's intelligent, and guess what you're going to hear? Knock, knock, knock. Sir, we saw your Facebook post. We're here to arrest you. In the UK, there's 12,000 arrests every single day for social media posts.
Wait, you said 1,200 a day?
No, it's 12,000 a year. So it's about
12,000. Okay. That's
30
great.
a day is insane. This just clearly shows your savings are not going to be safe. We've got France talking about citizenship-based taxation. In Australia, the government right now is trying to pass a law where they will tax your superannuation accounts, that's a retirement account in Australia, at 30% unrealized capital gains. You don't even have to sell anything. They're going to steal your money. It's the same in Canada. They're talking about new tax laws, making it tougher to escape. Same in Spain. We're talking about wealth taxes. If you look at all of the Western countries that have too much debt, they're all doing the exact same thing. They're all trying to come after your savings, come after free speech, and this is going to end in a CBDC like Christine Lagarde is trying to pass in Europe. Sorry,
guys. My bad. I shouldn't have got her mad. Now she's taking it out on you guys.
Right?
No, I'm trolling. All right, let's move it. Let's keep it moving. Because this is where Luke will really shine, is when we start talking about some bullish cycle theories, whether they're broken, whether they're not, where we should be looking at bottoms and tops. I got a good thread from Adam back, and then we're gonna chat about it. And I'm pretty interested to hear Luke's take on this, because I did just have this conversation with another Australian, and he had an interesting take on where people are taking, their bull multipliers happening here. So let's get into this.
I want to give a shout out to our partner, HIVE Digital Technology. Why HIVE in 2025? unstoppable growth. As the first ever public miner, HIVE's position to quadruple their global footprint, making them one of the world's fastest growing miners in 2025. And with elite operations that consistently top the industry in Bitcoin mined per exahash, HIVE's now headquartered in the USA. They're lean and mean, they're green and clean, and they're rewriting the playbook on sustainable Bitcoin mining. You can catch the latest buzz at HIVE Digital Tech or at hivedigitaltech.com. I want to give a shout out to our partner, bitcoinben.io. If you're into freedom, Bitcoin, and building a real community, this is for you. Gain exclusive access to real-world, members-only, private clubs across the globe, featuring poker nights, expert-led classes, co-working spaces, educational meetups, live events, and more. Current locations include Sarasota, Nashville, Boston, Dallas, Las Vegas, and St. Louis, with new clubs launching soon in West Palm Beach, Scottsdale, Alabama, and beyond. Not to mention Bitcoin Ben's resorts in El Salvador. There's 3 of them, and they're absolutely beautiful. You'll also get access to the first fully backed Bitcoin bank with fiat ramps and savings accounts. It's called Private Key Bank, and you guessed it, it's based out of El Salvador. Go peer-to-peer with Bitcoin bulk buys, tap into home equity for long-term Bitcoin growth, and join their exclusive mining pools if you're interested in mining. What are you waiting for? Head over to bitcoinben.io, join today, where Bitcoin meets freedom.
All right, guys. So I saw this thread, and it really made me think. So, of course, this is a thread by Adam Back. Actually, let me just read the thread, and then I'll give kind of my context on it. So Adam Back goes, reminder, last halving cycle top was March 2024 at 73.7K. Cycle started May 2020. This cycle started April 2024. There were earlier tops, April 2021 at 64.8K and November 2021 at 69K. Cycle end estimates March 2028. So for cycle top calls, Q4 2027 or Q1 2028 is a 4-year interval from prior cycle top. Now, some argue the top that counted normal time from cycle start was November 2021 at 69K, and that 4-year interval would be November 2025. 3 months from now, does it feel like the bull market will fade in 3 months? Who knows? Personally, I don't think so. Dips aside, I'd expect more all-time highs later. Now, this is right up a Luke alley here, because I think you've been saying you feel like it might be going longer, but I did bring up another Australian. I did have a conversation with Checkmatey, and he was we were trolling a little bit on this idea of like, it's very easy to kind of pick whatever data you want. And when you're looking at cycle bottoms to cycle tops, he's taking a more bearish take here. He's like, if you look at the cycle bottom of, I believe here, I gotta look it up. If you look at the cycle bottom, then the last bottom would have been, it's hard to really see which bottom to talk about. It could either be April, March 2025. It could be September 2024. Or is it, January 23rd, 23. So if you're, depending on which cycle bottom you're actually kind of doing your chart bowling from, if you're doing Jan 23, then we're already at a pretty good, cycle top area. And he's starting to feel like it might be getting toppy here. And we have Adam Back saying this cycle bottom was, where was he saying? The cycle, does he say it right here? No, he's doing tops. So the last cycle top would have been, what is it? April 2024 at 73K, or March 2024 at 73K. So, no, sorry, 2021, 69K. And the 4-year cycle would be November of this year. Now, I know we did start with the seasonality of Bitcoin, and I do feel like November, it's going to get very frothy. But I'm also looking at the chart, and it feels like we're doing some new stepwise functions here. And it's doing this pump, consolidate, pump. So I don't know, Luke, what's your thoughts on this idea of depending on where you kind of chart your cycle bottoms from, we might be getting toppy now. Do you think what this kind of consensus is that November 2025, it's going to kind of follow the same patterns we've seen? Or as Adam Back saying here, you know, he's been here for a long time. He's like, I think 2027, 2028, things are going to get very interesting here. So longer cycles, I'm okay with this. I like longer cycles. But what's your thoughts on this whole idea?
Yeah, so I think it's becoming, this is the way I look at things. I think it's becoming more and more hard to accurately predict where the Bitcoin price is going to go. I personally think there's like a 30 to 40% chance we break cycles this cycle. I actually think it's more like 50% chance that we just completely break the cycles. What does that look like? It could look like anything. If Bitcoin goes above $250,000 or about 230, that would like prove and cement the fact that diminishing returns has officially broken. I can't remember, that number was like a 190 or 230 last time I looked. So I think there's a good 50% chance we just blow that away. Again, I think there's also a good chance we do see that Omega God candle. I don't think it's 2025. Like I think it's 20 to 30% chance we see it in 2025. I more think we're definitely going to see that before 2030. And that would just look like Bitcoin gapping from 200K to a million in a month or two. And again, I know those numbers sound crazy, but we showed you all the data earlier looking at the 2017 bull run. It's not crazy to see a 700% return in 10 weeks. We've seen that before in 2017. I just think that's going to happen again. So cycle theory, again, this is probably an unpopular opinion. I don't like to sit on the fence on most things, but I think now that we have the big boys involved, it's now becoming more and more hard to predict what was happening. Predicting Bitcoin cycles was so much easier before 2020 when the same buyer was the dominant buyer in the space. Retail money was driving the Bitcoin bull cycles, and we saw Bitcoin on exchanges continually grew from 2008 to 2020. For me, that would have been really easy to predict where we were going if the supply and the demand variables were the same. Post 2020, everything's different. So we're seeing less supply on exchanges, and we've seen this for 5 years now. This is a consistent trend of Bitcoin leaving the exchanges, and now we've got a completely different buyer. We got demand coming from pools of money that have access to trillions of dollars of capital. So for me, it's really difficult to use that prior data and project out where we're going to go. And I think anybody doing this, I think they're going to be set up to be surprised on the upside. And just a comment on analysts and supply shocks and being bearish, something I've noticed is that typically the most bearish people in the space, or the most conservative people in the space, they don't believe in the supply shock because they're tracking the data incorrectly. And they think that cycles are going to continue, because if you are selling a paid product, that is like the most comfortable, politically palatable opinion to try to sell. Like, oh, it's just going to be the same. Nothing's changed. So we have to be smart and assess the data as we see the data. And for me, I just think any technical analysis or like any of these models like power laws and power opinions, it's all just taking faulty data and just hoping that that faulty data continues being true long enough so that you can make some money off it. So again, I just think power law models, on-chain models, throw them all in the bin. Again, that's the most unpopular opinion to take in the Bitcoin space. All the models are wrong. I just think that is true. That's going to happen. And I have no idea where the cycle is going to go. All I encourage people to do is be prepared for Bitcoin to top somewhere between $100 and $1 million a coin. I will be significantly surprised if we go to 3 million a coin this cycle. I would be very surprised if that would happen. And I would be very surprised if Bitcoin's already topped at 120. But anywhere between those two numbers, I honestly have no idea. And I'm just throwing darts at a wall and just, licking my finger and just kind of testing the thing to kind of see where things are going. I honestly have no clue.
Well, it's funny you said that, because there's a comment here and it goes, where is Luke getting these chances from? And you're like, I'm kind of pulling them out of my ass.
Exactly.
It's a coin flip.
Exactly. Yeah, you can run the numbers all you want, and you can look at previous cycles versus future cycles. My base case is pretty simple. You look at the average bull run return, And I think Bitcoin's going to do what it's done previously, and if not, do more. And that indicates $700,000 Bitcoin. If Bitcoin just repeats what it did in 2013, 2017, 2021, take the average, we're looking at Bitcoin close to $1 million.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I don't want to get caught for being a full chart boy here. But my chart boying does confirm with my gut instinct that we're going to see 300K this year.
Yeah.
And will we go longer? Who knows? Will we have a drawdown in 2026? I don't know. But I've been saying for over a year when we were at what was the price a year ago? I don't remember what the price was a year ago here.
I remember that we were getting called out for being bullish when Bitcoin was at like $30,000 to $40,000 a coin. People were saying, "Oh, it's going to 11K because Gareth Soloway drew some stupid lines on a chart and said bear market confirmed. It's going to 9K. It's going to 3K. They want to liquidate Sailor." I do remember that.
Yeah, it was roughly like 40K, roughly ish, 38, 40K. And I remember then I was basically saying it's going to 250, 300K. And I'm sticking to my guns now. I'm getting more and more convinced that that is what's going on. With everything we're talking about, it makes perfect sense to me. Well, or rather, there is no logic to it. It's just an intuition here. And I don't know about you guys, but I always trust my intuitions, and it's usually right. It's got me this far. So my gut feeling is 300K. Will we see the cycles play out? I don't know. Like, I really love Adam Back kind of saying these cycles are getting longer because, as Ron P said in the chat, he's like, look, if I'm going to trust anyone on a price prediction, it's probably the guy that is mentioned in the white paper, the only guy mentioned in the white paper. He might know a little more than I do here, but everyone knows he's a good trader. He's low-key kind of a degen trader, but he loves to do that. And it just feels like longer cycles from what I'm kind of like, again, intuitively grasping. It just feels like longer cycles with the new players coming in with this long-term thinking. Again, you got to remember the newest players in the space are all basically like Sailor acolytes here. Larry Fink basically is, following the Sailor strategy. Michael Saylor himself, all the new Bitcoin treasury companies. And their one motto is they don't ever want to sell this thing. So they are completely, I think, changing the fundamental structure of what's going on. And Luke, I think you said it the best a minute ago when you said that the last cycles were really driven by the same people, the same type of retail, individual whales. And now there's a new entrant into the market. I think if this doesn't change the structure of the market, like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, things are changing in real time. Everything is changing. As the saying goes, I think it's Sun Tzu, I believe, can never step into the same river twice. We're no longer in the same river, guys. These things are changing rapidly in real time. So I'm starting to get bullish. But hey, we got 6 more months to figure out whether Luke and I are wrong or if we're right here. But we'll continue to chat about this for the next 6 months, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years here. Let's see. Tao says 150K max in 2025. Bro, Tao, I love how you are a public bear, but a private bulltard. I absolutely love it, dude. And thank you, Lee, for the $2 super chat. But I think he, I don't know if he's shilling a shitcoin in here, but shouts out to Jesus. I fully endorse that if that's not about a shitcoin. If it's not blasphemous, I fully endorse that message, but it seems a little blasphemous here. Anyways, Luke, thank you for coming on last minute. Don't get into more fights with an ice cube. Let's hope your eye does better tomorrow. Tao, don't call me a bear. Yeah, man, really appreciate you coming on the show. Super last minute, guys. You're going to be stuck with me all week. I know tomorrow's going to have Sophie, and then we're going to bring Chris in on Friday. So Show's going to be just bullish opti all week. I'm holding the team down. Nico is doing some very cool stuff in Finland right now. He's going to, I think it's called BTC Hell. It's in Helsinki. It's a conference right now. He's had some incredible dinners. I'm sure he'll tell us all about this when he comes back on the show. And then I do want to give a shout out to Kilowatt on the Orange Pill app, asking me about stuff right before I was going live on the show about the what's some good Kilowatt that I should be looking for if I want to mine some Bitcoin. So, I haven't been that active on there, but I want to, give a shout out to him for kind of reminding me to go on there and message. So if you guys are on Orange Pill app, of course, don't flood my DMs because it'll take me forever to get to them. But you guys can DM me directly, okay? Anyways, guys, we love you. We will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow is what? Thursday, August 14th. We'll be back for another show at roughly 12:15 p.m. Eastern time. We'll see you tomorrow, guys.
Today's episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.